show. Turn the club to a freak show. Turn the club to a freak show. Turn the club, yeah, we turn the club to a freak show. Turn the club into a freak show. Freak show, turn it to 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 a freak show.
What is up, everyone? Your favorite train freak is here, the one and the only. I got a special guest down in the basement, and so we're going to talk about a specific city. I think it's Richmond, Virginia. So that might be your clue as to who's going to be down in there. And he's going to talk about the railroad that he models and some of the other railroads in the town of which he grew up in or around, somewhere like that. So if you can see on the left, we got our model railroad live streams. And while that's going on, I'm going to go ahead and throw in some hellos real quick if I can keep up with the chat because it's going crazy. All right, so let me scroll all the way back to the top because, and it's gone. Well, how about that? All right, so I know Chris from Go V or Go Home posted first, and I think Nissy's in there at second. So I'm going to start where I can see. I got Roy Eltham. We got New Fenris Railroad. That's William. Steve Childers, Dwight Curley. Brian over at Inked Rails. We got Marty with M&M Short Lines. And Santa Fe Bob, Joe Rader, BlackRock Central. We got Ray Bobell in the house. John with Schuylkill River Valley. And let's see who else we got. Split Rock is here. And I'm still scrolling. We got Heath from Humanity Junction, and he's asking if he's missed a stream. No, you have not. You're just in time for the Freak Fest to begin. Bang, Got You Junction, Carl Brond, Dragon Lover 68, Al Mar. Al, your package from your winnings on the 600 subscriber is on the way to you. I emailed you tracking via UPS. So you should have that in your email if you haven't already received it. We got Chuck with CDP 1965, Kyle Stevens, East Coast Rail Fanning Productions, Tim with CP 368 Productions, Kyle Stevens, Day BNSF in scale. And I'm still scrolling through, and this chat's going crazy. Oh, man. John, Mystic Southern is here. And let's see, who else do we got? We got Rail Artist, Anthony, Georgia Sunbelt. And still going. PK&W Model Works. I think that is the first time PK has attended any of my live streams, so welcome. My Life's Tracks, Anthony Dodge, the Model Train Outsider. Got Opa Dodge in the house. Nancy and the Spirit of Colorado Railroad N-Scaler is here as well. And I think the live stream or the stream list over here on the left has come up multiple times, or I hope it has. And if anybody else is in here and I haven't said your name, I apologize. Hey, we got Pappy Trigoglin just popped in. And I think that's it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my screen over, and we're going to bring up my guest. What's up, John? Oh, hold on. I think you're muted. All right, now, there you go.
All right, let's try that again. Hey, Jason, how you doing?
How's it going, my friend?
Good,
good. You put me on the spot last Tuesday when your video came out.
I did, and I don't think I intended it to be quite, I wasn't trying to throw a gauntlet at you, but I think I did. I'm just trying to urge you into a new realm, that's all.
You did that. So for those who don't know, why don't you go ahead and share?
Yeah.
And then we'll just we'll get into what you know here in a little bit, but we'll just go ahead and get this conversation out of the way.
Yeah. So this is the cotton belt car that Jason and I have in common. He's holding his up. I'm holding mine up. And we are going to do a collab video where he's going to ship a load of furniture from his layout in his car, basically the staging on his layout. Then we'll pick the car up in staging on my layout and ship it to an industry I have. So kind of a collaboration. But I thought before we feature that car and a bunch of close-up shots, like why not bring up the realism a little bit and give it a little weathering job. So
Oh yeah,
playing along.
and see, he was lucky in that because I've been waiting on a piece of track to come in from the UK for a couple of weeks.
Right.
So it's like you just had to put me on the spot.
You can't operate. You might as well weather something, right? That's where I'm about to move my whole layout. So
let's see. Nathan DeLay has popped in, and Tyler from Lackawanna Rail Fan. Welcome, guys. So you model the Seaboard Airline.
I do. Yeah. In Richmond, Virginia. And I kind of grew up not really as a Seaboard Airline fan, more C&O. And where Richmond is situated, we have, so the city of Richmond has 5 Class 1 railroads in it. The C&O being one of them. So very big, north, south, east, west, all kinds of stuff happened in the city. We had 2 huge passenger stations once upon a time and a smaller one on the south side of the city. So 3 passenger stations. And if you want to model the C&O, most people are going to do it in the mountains of West Virginia where all the action is with the mines and stuff. And what we have in Richmond is basically coal drags running, back and forth. Loads one way, empties the other. And I don't know, that didn't seem like what I wanted to model, but I wanted to model my hometown. So I work on the south side of the city where the old Seaboard Airline main line runs through. And on that railroad, there was a lot of local industries and all kinds of switching and stuff and really neat industry to model. So I kind of pivoted and I've been learning about the Seaboard kind of as I've been building the railroad.
That's awesome. Now we got a question. I know this is kind of going back to that box car.
Okay.
Will the car be moving in each direction, going to each layout? That is correct, because the way I've got my waybill set up is that box car is going to John over at Big John's warehouse.
Yeah, it's my dad.
And then he's returning it back to my layout, back to the Shack of Sit. I got to say it slowly, otherwise you're thinking I'm saying something else.
Yep.
And it's going to go elsewhere afterwards. So, but that's not the only car that we have in common. We have another one in common too, and it's actually coming from another one of my industries, and also going to Big John's warehouse.
Yep.
So,
and I don't know if I might have sent you a picture, but I certainly haven't shared it on my channel yet. But I've started weathering that one too.
Oh, nice.
Got some base fade and little flat coat. I haven't done a lot with it yet, but so that's coming.
That's awesome. Well, right now it's sitting in the yard waiting to go back to staging. So it's actually waiting to go to you.
Okay. I'll get on it then.
All right, let's see. I think I saw a couple more people pop in. Flying Crow popped in, Caboose 121, Raybo Bell, and we got John 2618. There's a lot of Johns.
Yeah, all the Johns showing up. Got to.
I'm telling you, just about. Was there like 7, 8 of you?
Something like that. Yeah, we're multiplying.
I'm telling you. And okay, so I think we're caught up. So you were mentioning there's 5 railroads.
Yeah. So you've got in the city of Richmond, like city proper, there's actually a 6th just outside of the city to the south. But in the city itself, you've got the C&O running east and west. And it's kind of cool. It follows the James River. There was a canal towpath that kind of ran along next to the James River. And George Washington's probably the most famous Virginian, in history. And he had a vision to extend canals all the way to the Ohio Valley, like up over the Appalachian Mountains through locks and whatnot. And so there's a canal system that's built along the James River from Tidewater through it's flat water up to Richmond, then through the fall line and up into the mountains. There's a canal and an old towpath along the canal, and the towpath is what became the main C&O line running through the city and to the west. So that's kind of cool. So that's a nice 2% grade all the way to the mountains. No more than 2%.
Okay.
So that's one railroad.
That's one.
So then you've got the RF&P that goes from Richmond to DC. Think of it like a toll road. So railroads in the south connecting to railroads in the north had to pretty much go from, they all went to Richmond. From Richmond to Washington, D.C., had to go along that toll road. And from there, they connected to the, B&O, everything else heading up north. In Richmond, they connected with the ACL and the Seaboard Airline.
Gotcha.
So then the Seaboard's your third airline. It's the third railroad in Richmond. It's funny, the airline thing came in before we had airplanes. Like that name goes back before airplanes. It was just because the original line from Weldon and Norfolk, the original sort of 5 railroads that they all pieced together, was the shortest distance between two things. The way a bird flies is straight point to point, and that's what it was. So they started calling it the airline, and it stuck. So they actually predate airplanes with that airline. So Seaboard Airline is your third, the Atlantic Coast Line is your fourth, and the Southern Railway is your fifth. And then there's a sixth. The Norfolk and Western pass through Petersburg just to the south of Richmond. So if you count that one, you could actually go 6 in the Richmond area, major class 1s in the 1950s and 60s. So lots of rail stuff, very busy city for rail fanning.
And see, where I grew up, there was only 2. The Cotton Belt and the Mopac, and that was it.
Right.
And where I grew up was a big railroad hub too. So it's pretty crazy just to imagine 5, let alone say a 6. That's really close by. I mean, that's insane. I know you shared in like one of your older videos. I think you did some rail fanning and showed like an area where there's 3 tracks that intersect each other, but they don't actually cross each other's tracks. They're all elevated at different heights, and that was interesting. So
that's called triple crossing, and it's literally 3 railroads. There's one on the ground, that's a southern branch line. Then the middle, there's a bridge, and they cross at like different angles. So the middle one is actually the Seaboard, and then on the top you have the C&O running east and west. So that's a really cool spot. You can easily get right up to it. Unfortunately, that day I was there, it was kind of right, in the heat of the showstopper, and there weren't any trains going by right then. But that's a pretty good spot to see trains.
Oh yeah, I think you showed me a couple of pictures of some good rail fanning spots.
Yeah. Then and I think the railroads have staged stuff in the past, where they have the locomotives basically parked on their spots. So there's some pretty cool pictures of going all the way back to steam of those 3 railroads. Of course, there's only 2 railroads now, right? So the C&O and the Seaboard are both part of the CSX today, and then you got the Norfolk Southern on the ground.
Right now, and then of course, I guess you would say you had Seaboard Airline and ACL. They both became the was it Seaboard Coastline?
Seaboard Coastline, in 1967, I want to say. So they were sort of bitter rivals, competing parallel tracks, and they both were struggling, in the mid to late 60s, and they finally overcame their differences and merged. And unfortunately, a lot of the old Seaboard Airline south of Richmond, not the area I modeled, but further south, has been torn up and abandoned, unfortunately.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I got a couple more hellos. We got Lyle Patton. I think this is your first time in one of my streams, so welcome. And then of course Sparky.
Hey, Sparky.
And I'm curious if Sparky is wearing his wig in respects, to the beard. So
I actually trimmed mine back. It wasn't as long as yours, but I trimmed it just this morning. See, I get there's gray showing up right on the tip of it. That if
I've got them popping in on mine too.
Yeah,
they're intertwined.
Yeah.
Oh, Manny Fernandez and Rick Bailey's also popped in. So I think the whole STS crew is in attendance. So That's awesome. And Boulder Creek Yard just popped in as well. So the chat, it's hard to keep up with the chat because it's like you read it and then it's just like I mean, there's already been what 4 or 5 times that I tried to click on someone's comment and ended up clicking on somebody else's because the chat keeps flying.
Yeah, I'm looking in there. So I see Rail Artist was commenting about the railroads he saw. So I grew up in I was actually born in Newport News in the Tidewater area, and all we had was Chessie. It was just the same C&O line that runs through Richmond, goes to Newport News, and that's where all the coal gets loaded on the boats to go all over the place. But that's all I saw growing up was, that Chessie yellow scheme, the yellow, the blue, the orange, and nothing but coal cars. So then when we moved to Richmond, when I was, in grade school, and suddenly you get north-south traffic, you see box cars and tank cars and other railroads too. It was Seaboard system at that time. It was pretty cool to see. I was excited anyway.
So you're modeling.
Anthony had a question up there too related to that. So the one that runs right along the James River, there's two. On the northern bank of the James River, especially right through the city, it's on an elevated trestle. I think it's the longest viaduct in North America. It's over a mile or two long. That's the C&O. That's the old C&O line. And then on the southern bank of the James River, you have a southern branch line that runs from a yard that I actually interchange with to West Point, Virginia, and then out and connects with the main line. I want to say it's out in like Burkeville or Danville, out in the western part of the state. So I'm not sure which side of the river he was talking about.
Gotcha. Nathan's got a question for you. Let me see if I can pop it back up because the chat moved on me. There we go.
Scratch building. Yes. I'm starting to do more and more. If you look kind of, the camera's that way. So all these buildings behind me, some of that stuff, like those buildings there are backdrop. That's a kit bash of the Railway Express Agency Walthers kit. There's some Walthers kits in here, but this right here, if I pick it up, is a scrap pile. And that's completely scratch built from a piece of pink foam and random plastic parts, and then watch parts as well. And I gave it like a Grammy black and then like a rust solution on there. The same stuff did with the rails. So that's completely scratch built. And I'm starting to do more and more of that kind of stuff as I think about the industries and stuff that are going to be behind my yard. I'm planning to scratch build some stuff there. So just kind of getting into it.
That, and you also did some scratch loads for some of your gondolas too, right?
I did, yeah. There's this gondola sitting right in that industry as a scratch built load, and I basically followed. I think I saw this on Ron Marsh did this on Ron's Trains and Things. That's just a scrap metal load. Same method, just it's a piece of a for sale sign, and then a bunch of random pieces of there's bits of window and whatever random sprues and just plastic junk I had, and I kind of licked it out and then painted it to look like old metal.
That looks good.
Thanks.
So yeah. All right, let's see. Someone says, I am modeling the upper yard and such. Busy at one time, then just upper yard to the west for a while, and up to power plant in Ohio as well. Okay. So that's what Rail Artist is doing. And Rick is also enjoying the scrap. So
thanks.
If you do get bored, you can always make some scrap loads for some of my stuff. So I plan on doing some with like cut up railroad wheels.
Yeah, I did eventually. That too. Yeah, I'm looking for where that car's sitting in the yard. Here's that load. So different gondola. My yard's kind of behind the camera, but there's that one.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So that's what I plan on doing as well.
Yeah. And that just pops out. Same thing, for sale sign. Very cheap source of styrene. And then just glued the plastic wheels from an AccuRail kit on there.
Gotcha. So let's see here. So I got a couple of guys asking me to turn on the names, and I'm trying to figure out where it's at. I've been looking in the brand and banners while you were talking.
Oh.
It might be somewhere here. Let's see here.
General. I think it was there when I first logged in.
Yeah, and then it's like, as soon as I went live, it's like, where did it go? So, brand, scroll down to the bottom. There's a slider.
And I see brand. Split Rock was saying the triple crossing. It's in Richmond.
There we go.
It's in the bottom, called Shaco Bottom. It's right along the old canal, kind of near the river. You can get to it from any number of directions, but yeah, right in the heart of the city.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, some of the work you've done on your layout, man, like I'm really impressed. You know, you say you're a beginner and you're not really, I guess, doing like these how-tos and stuff. And I see it like you're so humble. You know, I mean, a lot of the stuff you do is like spot on, man.
Well, thanks,
It's
man.
really, really good.
I've learned a
And
lot watching other channels, honestly. Years, and not to knock the hobby press, but I've been subscribed to magazines and read the published books and stuff. But to me, it's not quite the same as watching somebody else actually do it. So guys like Rob Bennett, that what he has done some how-tos, or at least he lets the camera roll while he rambles for an hour and makes an amazing scene. And I've learned a ton from him. So it's guys like that. There's very little here that I came up with on my own. It's just kind of grabbing a little bit of this and a little bit of that and putting it together.
All right. So looks like cousin Vinny, BNSF 6951, popped in. So hey, Vinny.
Hey, Vinny.
Glad you made it. All right, so you're modeling Seaboard Airline, any like a specific era. What?
I'd say 1959, but late 50s.
Okay.
Kind of cut it off, so no Jeep 18s or anything past that.
Gotcha.
But the Seaboard was kind of cool. In addition to the more than just hauling coal, to and from the mountains. The switching they were doing in the city is interesting, but they also had a really diverse roster of diesels at that time. So pretty much if there was a first generation diesel, they had at least a few. They didn't really, there's a lot of Jeeps they used around Richmond, but it wouldn't be out of the question to see like my Baldwin VO 1000 switcher, not out of place in Richmond. Alco RSC units, not out of place in Richmond. They ran, FT, FA, all kinds of stuff. And there's a lot of stuff that was, I think, manufactured in the late 90s, like a lot of Proto 2000 stuff that you can buy pretty cheap, and you got to do a little work on it, but you can fill out a pretty interesting roster of diesels from different makes, different, so it's not all one thing. It's another thing that I really like about that railroad.
So is there a specific locomotive that you wish you had on your layout that you do not have yet?
So the layout in this configuration, I'm in this 10 by 14-ish space. I use number 5 turnouts, 22-inch radius. So I'm not running any passenger at all.
Okay.
And even when I move, I don't know if all your viewers have seen some of my other stuff, but I'm going to be moving the layout down to the garage, which gives me a lot more room. And I'm toying with what radius do I want to use, and do I want to be able to run passenger units? But you think about those E units in the Citrus scheme, like that's a pretty cool looking locomotive, but they're like 70 feet long. I guess they'll negotiate what I have, but I don't know that it would look that good. And with the longer cars too. So I run mostly 40-foot cars, first generation diesels, and it runs great. But
you can get away with some 50-footers.
Yeah,
you can get away with some 50-footers too. Yeah,
I think I accidentally bought a Seaboard flat car that it didn't say in the description on eBay, but I got it and I was like, uh-oh, this is longer than I thought it was. I think it's 50.
So, all right. So there is this one locomotive I heard about, and I think Nissy is popping on it.
Yeah.
The Centipede.
You were hitting me up with that one. Yeah. And I think Broadway Limited made one painted for the Seaboard Airline. I think there's several of them on eBay right now, actually. But that's another very long locomotive, and wheels everywhere. I don't even know what the wheelbase is on that. It's just wheels from one end to the other. I'm sure they're articulated, but.
So Heath is saying that you need to switch to N scale.
Yeah, Heath. When I was a kid, I was in N scale, and then I grew up. I guess I don't know.
See, it's too small for my sausage fingers. I mean, I can't.
Well, I know my eyes aren't going to get better. My vision is fine now, but as I get older, I'm not going to be able to see N scale. And I think, honestly, I do really like pretty all scales, but I get fascinated when I see an N scale layout at a train show or something. I will definitely sit there and watch that. It's what you can do with the scenery and stuff is just so cool. But the way I want to operate and have locomotives crawl, and I want the sound to be good and stuff, like I need to. Frankly, I should probably be bigger than HO, but HO works.
Yeah, HO's that happy medium.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah, it's a compromise. Everything
Yeah.
is right in this hobby.
Because I've got friends who mostly do O scale, you know, locally.
Yeah.
There's a few people that do HO and just a very few that do N. But most of the people around here, they do O scale. And this one guy ended up buying this mobile home to put in his backyard, and it's a 16 by 80. And he gutted the whole inside out. And that is his layout. But he's O scale.
Yeah.
So
I mean, he can go, that's 2 very long straight runs, and I guess you can connect the ends and it works, right? But
right, I guess.
That's
so.
Yeah. That's
So I mean,
work.
Whatever works, you know.
I mean, you see guys build outbuildings and stuff or get sheds. Like, that's not that different? Like, what Robert's got a shed for his trains, and so does Sparky, right? Like, I'm sure there's other guys too.
Yeah, I wish I had a shed big enough to do
I want
mine.
a detached garage with a finished room above it, but you know, reality is what it is. I got the space for it, but not the money.
Yeah, same here. Same here. Hey, we've got a RDNT just popped in, so welcome. No, I was telling Amanda, my wife, I said, if there is any other train scale that I want, I've got 2.5 acres on my property. Yeah. I want what Steve Arnold has, 7.5-inch gauge.
Is that something the live steam ones that you ride on?
Yes.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
But that's expensive too.
Yes.
So, but yeah, that would be a lot of fun.
Make flex track in that either.
I don't think so. I think you have to.
You're definitely playing that. Yeah.
Yeah. So Nissy is saying half of her living room is her layout. That's awesome. Nice. So more than half of my garage that is not climate controlled is my layout. So
there you go. I think when I move, I'll probably be at about 75% of my garage.
Yeah, I wish I could close it in and not use it, and then just make another room out of it, and then I could go a little bigger.
Sure.
But yeah, that's not going to happen anytime soon. So, all right. So it's 7:30.
Yeah. Sparky says the 7.5 gauge is $20,000 just for a small locomotive.
I believe it.
Yeah, I mean, those things are like the steam locomotives are actually like driven by propane or something, right? I mean, it's a steam locomotive.
That, or I think gas, maybe like a little gas burner, like a motor that would be like on a weed eater or something like that.
Okay.
Okay. Where you have to use that gas mixture that, what is it, 50-1 or something like that?
$20,000. It might as well be 20 million.
Yeah. So Athearn's coming out with some nice Seaboard Airline caboose models.
They are. And
cool.
There's some Athearn Genesis just came out. It's the first time I'd seen a manufacturer in a while. They're doing Jeep 9s in the Seaboard Airline scheme. The DCC and Sound ones are about $300 though. And I can go out on eBay and get, for 70, maybe 80, get an old Proto 2000 for another $100, put TCS in there.
Yeah. Yeah. You're a WOW sound guy. So.
Yes. Yeah. No, not to knock. I mean, the other ones are good too. That's just what I've kind of come up with, but yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. All of the sound decoders, they got their perks in some form or fashion,
Yeah. The current generation ones are all, I mean, they've got every prime mover, every horn and bell you could possibly want,
So got a question here. What part of the hobby do you most enjoy?
Yeah, it's a good one. It's the variety. The fact that I can pivot from kind of one activity to another. And if I were to pan the camera around, like the area behind me is the most finished. And as I go that way, it gets less and less finished. So I can I'm trying to kind of move right to left. But there's still I can work on track. I can do ballast. I can do scenery. I can work on kits. I can weather cars. I just like being able to jump around from different, keep it fresh and interesting. And I think that's something that's really good about model railroading in general is there's so many different pieces to it and so many different rabbit holes that you can go down and perfect this piece or that piece. or at least attempt to.
Yeah.
So yeah, variety.
So we got Risden and Rome Model Railroad popped in, so welcome. And then Rick Bailey is talking about all his friends on your layout.
What's that? The
So-
trees?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are all super trees behind me. And what some of it's backdrop. You might be seeing the photo backdrop too. But yeah, any of the actual modeled trees sort of back in there, that's all super trees.
Yeah, I like how you popped them out of the backdrop. It's kind of like some
Yeah.
of your trees are like cut in half, and it's like up to the backdrop's edge,
Mhm.
so that way it makes it pop. And
Yeah.
I
yeah.
plan on doing the same thing with mine. I'm just not there yet, but
Yeah,
I'll get there
You've
eventually.
you've got the photo backdrop on the one peninsula now.
Yes.
in your scenery there. So, and I think the trees, and I'm using it this way, and I think you were talking about on your video today. You can use your trees almost like to mark the edges of scenes. So, like this little
Mhm.
urban scene behind me kind of ends. There's a little hill with trees, and now you're kind of in a rural area. Where in the real
Yeah.
world, like that's 200 scale feet. Like it wouldn't change that fast, but we're compressing everything. But they make a really good sort of edging, highlight the edges of a scene.
So here we go. He's Boulder Creek says he's ordered his first pack of super trees. The Walters trees are horrible. I have heard the same thing.
Is the Walters trees, is that a natural material? I'm not familiar with theirs.
I don't know. I've never used it either, so I've just heard.
The super trees is that whatever that, it's some kind of natural, I forget what it's called. It's a natural material.
I think it's made out of sagebrush. The stuff like tumbleweeds, like out west.
There is, I think they make that there's two. So this is the other one. I've got a whole box of it back there. I can't remember what it's called, but
it's not a sedum, is it?
No, I can't remember. I can Google it real quick.
All right. Well, while you're Googling it, Split Rock wants to know, what do you do for operations? Card cards / waybills, switch list, or other?
Car cards and waybills.
Yeah. So that's what I use.
Right and true. Now I'm not against the others, but that's what, that was an easy one to set up. So that's what I'm using.
Yeah. I think a switch list does a lot of the math for you per se, as far as like customer needs and stuff, if I'm not mistaken. Car cards and waybills, you kind of have to know what your customers are demanding. And I actually followed your method when you created that Excel spreadsheet. With all your, I did mine through Google Sheets, so that way I could pull it up on my phone and do it that way.
So I think what we're doing with that is using it to generate the demand. But so I'm not just taking a thing and turning it over. I'm using, there's somewhat randomized demand. And then I actually do the car movements as directed by the car card and waybill.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. And Try Goglin, otherwise known as Pappy, wants to know, when did you start your layout?
So originally this piece behind me, this side, that urban area, that was just a shelf layout. And I started that back in 2017, I want to say. And then summer of 2019, I extended that shelf layout, designed a big yard, and then some other areas to go with it. So I've been room size since 2019.
Okay, there you go. And this is just kind of funny. We're just giving Rick more grief. So, yeah, I was telling John with Skooka River Valley, he's doing this new N-scale layout, and it's supposed to be like a Christmas or winter theme. And I told him, I said, it's not complete until Rick is standing in the middle of it. So,
all right. So super trees, they're made from the stuff that's indigenous to the Arctic tundra of Scandinavia, and we're both right, and it's a distant cousin to our western sagebrush.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
So
as according to Scenic Express website.
I know Ron Marsh, Ron's Trains and Things. He actually has a friend out west that sent him actual sagebrush.
Yeah.
So that way he could make trees on his.
I'd love to get a hold of that just for some variety, because trees in nature don't all look the same. And Jason, you and I were talking recently about trying to figure out in the area you live and where I live,
The
There's
loblolly pine
trees
tree.
everywhere. And
Yes.
I'm trying to figure that out. I've got some experiments that are not worthy of being shown on camera. Trying to
That
use a different colored
that's gonna be
paint and static grass for the needles instead of the flock material. That's where my
well,
head is.
and then you
We'll
gotta
see.
put the cones. You gotta have some stuff for to
Depends on the
mimic the
time of
cones.
year. We don't have pine cones right now, but if you're late summer, for sure.
Yeah. Well, here, the pictures that I sent you, you can see the cones in them, and
Oh, you
that's
got
like
cones
early
now? Okay.
spring. So
Yeah.
now, for people who don't know what the loblolly pine is, it's also known as the southern yellow pine.
Yep.
So it's not like a Christmas tree per se. The trunk and the branches look a lot like an oak tree, but instead of leaves, you got needles.
It's this.
Yes.
If I can figure
So-
that out, I'll be happy.
Yeah, really tall. Yeah, same here. So, and I mean, the trunks get massive.
Yes. And they're mostly trunk for 80% of the tree. It's just big,
Right.
long, straight shot. And if you look closely at the color, it's not gray like all the other trees. It's kind of like a almost maroony type color, like brownish, red brown color.
Right.
And it's got a heck of a lot of texture, big coarse bark. I think you can replicate that too.
Yeah. And let's see, we got Martin Siersma in. So welcome, Martin. All right, so someone is saying for redwoods, we use redwood twigs out here and then trim them into full-size trees. How about that?
That's pretty
Unfortunately, there are no redwoods here.
cool. Nope.
Oh, looky here. Dead goldenrod makes a good loblolly.
Interesting.
So let me do this.
Are you going to take a note or should I? So we can keep working on this.
What I'm going to ask, I'm going to make Robert an admin if he will. Well, I guess I need to ask Robert first if he can actually post a link on it. So, and then Anthony, I guess he's asking about, what static grass would you use on that loblolly, like 4 millimeter?
I was kind of playing around with something longer to be the branches and then something even like 2 for the needles themselves.
Yeah.
But it weighed the tree down so much it looked like it got hit by a hurricane. So I gotta mess with that.
Well, we got hurricanes here, so
that's true. Here too.
So Ian from Lehigh River Subdivision popped in. So welcome, Ian.
Hey, Ian.
All right. So I'm still waiting to hear back on Robert if he's got a link to that. Yeah, because Anthony's asking where you can find it too. And the Closet Branch popped in. So
like fields and meadows and stuff, right? Doesn't it grow? I think like fields, right? It's not in the woods. It's more in open, like along ditches and stuff.
Like loblollies?
Oh, somebody's asking about where do you find goldenrod?
Oh,
I've seen it on like roadsides and near ditches on tree, where the trees stop and it opens up. That's where I've seen it in the past.
Yeah, and I guess that's what Robert was saying was dead goldenrod. Okay, so goldenrod. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. I've used yarrow before for just random generic trees. Dried yarrow works pretty well.
And see, the other tree that we have in this area, and we all hate it, is the sweet gum.
Oh yeah.
But so I definitely need a few of those.
That's just a deciduous. I mean, that can blend in with your regular super trees. Just use different.
Then you gotta. Well, that and the gumballs.
You can see those in HO. I don't know if you can even see that in HO. It's the size of a golf ball. Yeah.
It'd be kind of fun to do.
Yeah.
One way or another.
You figure that out.
I know, right? All right, so I'm looking to see if anybody else has got any questions, and
Robert's saying it's all over. It turns gray in November and December. Yeah,
that's when you want to pick it. Okay,
that's when it's probably dried out and stuff.
Well, I'll have to see if I've got a friend who is an arborist, a certified arborist, so I have to see if he knows where I can find some, because I do not know my trees that well.
Rail Artist says if it's yellow and makes you sneeze when you cut it, that is goldenrod.
All right.
Good to know.
Now, Sparky was starting to make a weeping willow tree, and
that's challenging.
Yeah, I think he was using sewing thread, and then he was like folding it in half. I think that would be cool. There's a few of those around here, not many. I don't think it's native to this area.
We have them, but
Um,
they're always in like super low-lying areas, like right up against water and stuff.
yeah,
There's not very many of them here either.
I've seen them like at like one like
Yeah,
off to
yeah,
itself.
like near a
You don't
pond or
ever
something.
see you don't ever see them in a group.
Yeah.
So but no, most of the trees around here, like on my property, I've got red oak, white oak, I've got
Mhm.
hickory,
Yep.
which I use to smoke my barbecue meats,
Mhm.
my pork butts. And then I've got one sweet gum on 2.5 acres, just one sweet gum, and that it's fixing to find its way to the chainsaw pretty soon.
Yep. I've got
Because
all that plus tulip poplar, which is a
yes,
messy, crappy tree that's, I mean, they're huge and, the biggest, straightest deciduous tree we have here. But they drop these little flower things and they come up everywhere. Like
yeah.
you're mowing them basically, like your lawn will get taken over by them.
Well, that and I've got some dogwoods too, which the
Those
dogwoods
are nice.
will bloom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Joe, I do not have any southern cottonwood on my property, but I do know that there are some not too far away. And Joe kind of roughly knows the area that I live in because he used to work at the Air Force Base nearby. So Joe and I think Dwayne was another one that used to work there too
Okay.
years ago when they
Yeah, I
were in the
think
service.
pine is what I'm missing. I feel like I've got the generic deciduous canopy somewhat well represented, but the pine, that's I gotta figure that out.
Yeah. So I think Split Rock might have came in
Yep,
late when I asked that
that's all right.
question.
Yeah, so late 50s, first generation diesels, but late 50s.
Now, something about the Seaboard Airline, going to the diesels, weren't they one of the first railroads that went to dieselization?
Yeah, so they were in kind of dire straits. So the railroad, actually, the original pieces of it predates the Civil War. Obviously, Civil War, Reconstruction, the economy in the South was in tatters all through that era. And then right as they were coming out of that, you get hit with the Great Depression. So they were actually in receivership through a lot of that, and a lot of antiquated equipment, and the track wasn't as maybe in as good a shape as it should be. And then as you come out of the Depression, they exit receivership, and World War II breaks out and tons of rail traffic and stuff. So they have this influx of money, and they didn't really have a bunch of the like superpower steam that they just bought in the 40s and late 30s and 40s. So they went straight from like 1910s and 20s steam to first generation diesel. They were also the first railroad that had CTC in the South, so that's kind of cool. Um, so water scenes, I saw there's a question. I do have a creek that I used, Envirotex, the Poron
Yes, the
resin.
Envirotex Light.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So I do have one creek scene, and then it's not scenic yet, but I will have a port scene as well. Richmond actually has the James River is navigable by pretty big ships right up to the fall line, where Richmond is situated. So there's a port here that's no longer in use, but used to be, and was actually served out of the yard I model by the Seaboard Airline called the Deepwater Terminal. So I will have significant water when I get to that, but I haven't scenic it yet.
Gotcha. All right. So Heath has got a big question for you.
You need to leave town, but you just robbed the bank. I guess I got to leave town because I just robbed the bank.
Yeah.
I have plenty of money. Where would you move? What would you model? Cannot be related to what you do now. Okay. Well, I'd move to Hawaii without even a second thought. And I've always thought narrow gauge would be pretty cool to model. Get into all that brass stuff, and maybe like narrow gauge, like maybe 3 foot gauge, something
Like
like that.
ON30.
Lots of ON30, but or even like the true scale 3 foot. But probably O scale. Because I'd have like a 60 by 80 basement or something that was perfectly situated for trains with no poles or anything in it. And I think I'd probably try that, something different.
Oh, hey, that is different. I don't know many. I know a few people that do ON30, but I do not know any that do the true
Yeah,
O scale narrow.
that'd be pretty. And imagine the detail you can do with that. That'd just be really cool.
Yeah. So you got a compliment.
Oh wow, thank you. I I don't know if I agree with you, but I appreciate that.
All right, so this is a good question right here.
Um, I don't think she's watching right now, so no,
Be careful how you answer this.
I'm pretty sure she's not, but no, she's generally supportive. She's not into it, and she doesn't really get the there's a train, and me and my two sons are all looking out of the car window at the train or whatever. Like she doesn't quite get it, but she's supportive of it, and I think especially during the pandemic, this has been a real good outlet. To meet you guys, it's kind of that's when I sort of joined the community, but also just to something creative, something mindful to do, I think has been really good. And so she's generally supportive, although so the garage is full of her mess right now, and as she's moving her stuff out, I'm going to be exiting the room I'm in. This will be a guest room once again, and I'll get the whole garage. So I got to move the railroad, but I'll get like 70% more space. So I kind of
yeah, that's called a good trade right there.
Yeah, and I built the railroad in such a way that it's movable. So I'll be able to move it. I mean, I'm gonna have to cut some track here and there, but the sections are built on mostly doors, so I can move that. They're sturdy, stable. I can move it without destroying it, I think. I hope.
So Sparky said, no one ever says Canada.
Dude, it's cold up there, man. I'm not going up there.
Hey, I would choose Canada before Alaska, but I don't know if that's much of a difference. Yeah. So, all right. Oh, man, chat's flying. Holy smokes. Yeah, P and KW said, don't worry, this is not being recorded.
Well, I know for a fact she's not going to go look it up.
Yeah.
She's just not into she's supportive. She doesn't get it.
Yeah, and then Heath was like, a basement in Hawaii? That would be interesting.
You said I kind of had unlimited funds, man. Like, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah. Hey, Wicked Insanity popped in. Welcome, Wicked. So, let's talk about some industries on your layout.
Okay.
So you did this brewery.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. You did a video series on it.
Yeah. There. That was a what is that? The American Hardware Supply kit.
I think so.
Yeah, and I cut it in half and then built a interior for it. And then I kit bashed the little. I don't know if y'all probably can't see that right there. That sort of yellowish is like a grain silo. I think it's supposed to be a cement silo. I'm using it for grain. Specifically malt for a brewery, and kind of scratch build an auger to get it up into the brewery itself. And that's a pretty fun industry. It receives malt, packaging, and it ships the beer. It receives glass, cardboard, just a lot of variety of stuff. So I use ice reefers to ship the beer out, and then box cars for the malt and the packaging in. So that's kind of a fun one.
But you're not going to have ice in the reefers, because I was told you never ice your beer down.
I keep mine cold.
I mean, keep it cold, but I don't know. Like I was told that they would put beer in an insulated boxcar, I think.
Oh, well, you're blowing up my whole operation scheme.
I know it. I know. Just yeah. You might want to double check that for 1959, though. That it could be.
Yeah, no, I mean there were some mechanical reefers around then.
And
if taking modeler's license with the ice ones, because I've got an icing track in the yard to add to the interest. I think it's probably a little of both, probably in the late 50s.
Here you go. So Split Rock, for people who do not know, is actually he works for the UP Railroad, Union Pacific. Nice. So
okay, beer in cases is not refrigerated. Okay, so I'm shipping kegs.
Yeah, there you go, kegs.
Thank you.
He was saying fill the cotton belt boxcar with beer
and ship it back to Jason. Yeah.
Hey, only if they knew what was being shipped in the Seaboard Airline boxcar that we have in common.
Furniture, right? Thrones.
Yeah, thrones. Yeah. So let's see here. I know I missed something else I was going to pop up on here too. Yep. Sparky said, Jason has a visitor. That was Junior coming in here with his Nintendo Switch, want me to put the passcode in. And I'm like, get
Dad,
out.
can I buy the? Yeah, I get that all the time.
Yeah. Not right now. So, yeah, I had to finish that one in. Let's see here. Okay, I think I'm caught up on the chat.
Okay. Well, this next building next to the brewery is a soap, right? And God knows what this powdered cement's going to do in the fermenters and stuff once it gets in. That's not going to be good. But yeah, so that's a soap company, and the story with that is actually related to the garage. So my wife makes and sells soap. That's her sort of was a side hustle. It's going to become her full-time job. She's opening a store, which is why she's
cool.
exiting. Right now, my garage is a soap factory. So she's getting a retail space. She's going to manufacture and sell it in the retail space, which is why my garage is freeing up. So that's kind of all related. So I put the brewery and her soap company next to each other. The brewery's mine, right, and the soap company's hers. So those are the first two industries I put in Manchester when I on the original shelf. That's right there.
That's going to be awesome. All right, let's see here. Oh, Lord. I don't know if that would taste good. That would be kind of gritty.
Got to rinse.
All right, we got another question.
Yeah, that's a good one. How much time?
I know. I know a possible answer to that question. You obviously have a lot more time than I do. So
I don't think that's true, man. I think it seems like you're doing more than I am. Yeah, I mean, I'm able to kind of putz away at it mostly. I mean, I work full time, so mostly in evenings or on weekends. We're coming into like one of my sons plays soccer, the other one plays baseball right now. So I'm at the ball. Like I used to do Heath's for a little while. I was doing Heath's Monday night thing, but now I got to sit at a ball field on Monday nights during practice for my youngest son. So. It's variable. It was definitely more in the winter than it has been in the spring. But I try to put at least 20, 30 minutes a day if I can. If I'm not actually building something or working on something, I'm at least thinking about it and planning ahead. When I make the videos about what I'm doing, sometimes I show what I'm doing, but usually I kind of talk about it. I'll shoot something like, hey, this is what I'm planning on messing with right here. Then I'll work on it a little bit, then bring the camera back and okay, this is what I've done. I don't usually have it just roll while I'm working, but if I do, I do I try to do a time lapse here and there. Otherwise, they get pretty long.
Gotcha.
I bobble a lot too.
And so we got Steve 87. He's popping in late, but hey, better late than never.
That's right.
And then Human is talking about it just does not take you long to apply the decals.
That's your specialty, man.
I know, right? That and propane tanks.
Marital aids, yeah.
So, no, but as far as like my modeling, I know I didn't get to any last weekend because we went on a camping trip with the scouts. My son, he's a Webelos, and he'll be crossing into the troop this fall, which is exciting.
Cool.
But that means instead of campouts like 2 to 4 times a year, now it's like every month.
Yeah.
So I know that's going to get, cranking on my spare time. And then he also does taekwondo. And so it's like, we have one scout meeting a week. Well, the other 4 nights he's doing taekwondo. So it's, kids keep us busy. That's for sure.
Do. And it's fun. I mean, I in the past, when my job wasn't as demanding as it is now, my kids wrestled, they play baseball, they swim, they play soccer. I coached wrestling. I coached baseball. It was great. I loved coaching the kids. I don't have the time to do that now, but that also means I don't have to be at every single practice. So I can, I get a little bit more time here too.
So Brian wants to know what video is the propane tank build on. It is not on a video. It's on a live stream. And it was I think it's the second Sidetrack Sunday live stream that I did. Well, that's a good question.
I did consider it with the move. But I tell you, like to get the scenery and the detail the way I want it. I think it would just be too much layout. I'm also not a very good carpenter, and I think you need to be a better carpenter than me to pull that off correctly. I'd probably have a lot of problems. And then, frankly, I do a lot of the operating by myself. And even this layout I have now, to run through an op session sequentially, it's like 6 to 8 hours. Like, I don't know how much more railroad I need to scratch that itch, right? I mean, it might take me a month or two to do a 6-hour operating session. I'll run this train, then I'll block that one, then I'll put it away. Then I might, a week later, I might start another, pick it up where I left off.
Yeah, and that's the same with mine, like with operations, because I could technically have 3 people operating simultaneously, and only half of my layout is built. I still got another half to go.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna join that club here real soon when I start to move.
Yeah, well, and one of the things that I'm learning with the multi-deck is, everybody tells you're supposed to build from the ground up, right? Multi-deck, no. Start at the top level and work your way down, because as you're adding like electronics and stuff under the top level, the scenery on the level below gets in the way.
Makes sense.
And it's like you don't want to damage anything, so
yeah,
you're just best off.
Yeah.
Thanks, John. Schuylkill River Valley had to put this up there. So
I highly recommend that video.
Yeah, that was a fun night, and I had a hard time trying to keep up with chat, and I did go back and watch the replay. It was a fun night. So, but getting back to what I'm saying, like installing things like tortoise switches and like switch 8s, block detection sensors. If I go and install, the lighting, like the just plug lighting, for the buildings or lamp posts or things like that.
Sure.
I mean, just running all of those wires and stuff under there.
Yeah,
it's a pain to try to climb between levels to
do
it.
Think
so
about too, drilling a hole through your plywood. All that sawdust is going to get all over your finished scene and all over your buildings and whatever.
And that's why I have a shop vac in the middle of the layout room, because I have to use it consistently.
Mine's right there.
So yeah, exactly. So if any of you who plans on building a multi-deck layout, take it from someone who's learning the hard way.
That's good advice.
Start upper, work your way down if you plan on doing any type of scenery and stuff. If it's not wide, like say if you only go like 18 inches wide, you might be able to get away with it. But for me, my middle level's 30 inches deep. So, and then the upper level is only going to be 18. I highly suggest work your way from the top down until you get ready to do things like helixes, and then work your way from the bottom up. So that's definitely someone, coming from personal experience.
Yeah.
Okay, so Split Rock's got a question. And I know we're getting crunched on time, so I don't know how you feel about going over. So
I'm good. You're good.
I can go as long as you want. It don't matter to me. So, all right. Do you find prototype modeling easier or more difficult since you model a lesser modeled manufactured / prototype?
So what I've found is that there's a lot of stuff that's probably 20 to 25 years old out there on eBay, etc. I've got locomotives from Proto, from Stewart. Trying to think some of the other ones. Kato. And they're all modeled. I mean, they're all painted and lettered for Seaboard. A lot of my rolling stock, because the Seaboard was interchanged with so many other railroads and was such a busy north-south kind of, there's tons of railroads up in the Northeast that were shipping their cars down south. So, I mean, I've got probably more Seaboard airline rolling stock than anything else, but I have I have Western Maryland, Pennsylvania, B&O, like everything. So it doesn't really hurt me on the rolling stock as much. And then on the cabooses, and I'll actually, if you don't mind, I'll just grab one here real quick.
Go ahead.
There is a small company, and I believe the gentleman has been trying to sell it for a while, but they make a really nice, that's a wood caboose, which is Seaboard ran. They have, for the Virginia division, which is, I don't know if you can see on the side of the car there, it says VA DIV right up other end over there. Everything's backwards on the camera.
Yeah, I see
Screen
it.
left. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, he makes 4 different numbers for the Virginia division. There's another several for the North Carolina. It's called East Coast Railways, I want to say, East Coast Railroads. And he makes these kits. Sorry, not kits. This is ready to run. But he makes these. They're really nice. And he
Like
makes them for
custom decal.
central Georgia, Seaboard, all the sort of smaller, lesser known Eastern railroads. So I think I got lucky finding that and getting it when I was able to, because I do think he's trying to shut that down
Gotcha.
or sell it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and they're not cheap. I mean, I think I bought them in sets of 2, and I want to say it was like $50 each caboose. And they're not lit or sound or anything, but they're just really nicely done.
Yeah. So P&KW Model Works wants to know, does YouTube creation help or hurt your model railroad hobby?
Well, we should both answer this one. But I think for me, I think it helps. I certainly wouldn't have connected with guys like Jason and some of the other guys in the chat had I not put myself out there. So I'm really glad.
Same here.
Yeah, I'm really glad I did that.
And for me, it started on attending Tom's and Sparky's live streams, and that's where it really grew. And then eventually I joined on Vinny's live streams, and I hit up the On Track Tuesday guys until Scouts started back up, because Tuesday's my Scouts night. So
gotcha.
And I try to hit everybody's live streams that I can. There's just so many
there are
that it's so hard to hit them all up.
I certainly am not a very good attender of them. But the guys, I've been on several of them as a guest. This one, Vinny had me on. I was on Big Bill talking to. So the community is definitely embracing new guys coming in like me and others. So I think from that perspective, I'm learning from everybody. I'm really looking forward. I've just got my second COVID shot, so I'm ready to get out there and meet some of you guys at a show or something. And I'm really looking forward to the social aspect of it. But as a modeler, I was kind of quietly, what do they call that? Sort of lurking, watching everybody else's channels for a year or two there, kind of soaking up, getting motivated, getting inspired, all those things. And then I got to a point where it's like, maybe I should put myself out there to meet other guys and give back whatever I've picked up. And so it's kind of all that rolled into one. So I think for me, it's definitely helped. I think I could see where, who was it? It's My Railroad. He for a while there, his production schedule was affecting what he wanted to do in the hobby. So the way I view it is if whatever I feel like working on, I'm going to show it. I'm just all I do is just show what I'm working on. So I don't think of it like, oh, I need to make a show about this, or I need to make it. So it's not how-tos or anything. It's just, what am I doing? What am I working on? And just put it out there.
Same here.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, with the collab video, what I've been working on today and yesterday is I got 50 pairs of scale head couplers, Katie's. So I've been doing coupler swaps, getting ready, for this video, because I want to try to minimize as many, coupler issues, on my layout, especially down in the yard area, because I still had the hump that still needs addressed.
Yeah.
So, and then the other thing was, I finally got that double crossover in that I've been waiting on, the DCC friendly one.
Yep.
Man, that's nice.
Yeah.
Compared to that DC one.
Still got that giant dead area in the middle, but I guess you're using stay alives and stuff, right? Or do you have frog?
Yeah, I've got current keepers in there, so it all works fine.
Yeah.
And then I bought that Alco S3, at the train show back in February, and the guy, he said it was just DCC, and I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I might put sound in it later, because you can slap an N-scale decoder in there, and they're making speakers smaller and smaller these days.
Sugar cubes are tiny.
Yeah, and lo and behold, I'm just running it on the layout, testing it out, and I slow it down, and I hear what sounds like a break, and I'm like, wait a second. And I ran it in the other direction, and I heard it again, and so I hit the horn button on my throttle, and I get a whonk, and I'm like, what? Because $60 is all I paid for it. He wanted 100.
Yeah.
He wanted 100 for it, and I was like, man, 100 for this Atlas model that's, like it's like 90s, early 2000s. It's like
Yeah.
an older locomotive.
Yeah.
I was like, man, $100 is a little high for that, even with DCC, just DCC.
Yeah.
Because you can go get a DCC decoder for $25,
Right.
just on a cheap Digitrax
Yeah.
or
Do you run,
TCS.
do you run many locomotives with just decoders, or do you have sound in most of yours?
I've got 2 that just have regular DCC.
Got it.
And it's because when I bought them, they came that way.
Yep. Yep.
So all of the DC ones, I put Tsunami 2 in it.
Yeah.
But I've actually got a variety because this Alco S3 has got a MRC decoder in it. And so when I was pulling, looking in the box that the locomotive came in, I pulled the styrofoam out. It actually had the MRC decoder pamphlet in the bottom included, which was helpful because I did a factory reset on it because the prime mover sound was not running. So after I did the factory reset on it, now I can hear the prime mover, and I'm like, this is even better.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I've got MRC. I've got a Scaletrains -9 that's got, ESU Loc sound on it. I've got 4 Bachmann F units, an ABBA. They're F7s, but ABBA that still had the Bachmann, sound with it.
Yeah.
I've got 2 MTH locomotives that have their proto sound. I've got a Broadway Limited with their Paragon sound. I mean, I've got a mix of everything. And I even have one locomotive that's got Soundtrax's Economy sound in it, which it still sounds as good. It just doesn't have all the cool features, that you can put in it.
I've been kind of on the fence with as I expand, running multi-unit consists, and like, I guess if I want the flexibility to mix and match, I should put sound in everything. But I've been kind of thinking, like, do you want sound in maybe just one of them, and just decoders in the others? I don't know. I haven't. I'm chewing on that. That's why I asked.
Yeah. So Heath has got a question here because he thinks I'm ignoring you, but we actually got in deep conversation.
Do you have what's a red room?
He's talking about my room that it's painted red.
Oh.
He calls it the kill room. And so it's like, I saw the, like I saw the shirt you're wearing. You're a Virginia Tech guy.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
See, I'm an Arkansas Razorbacks guy.
Yep.
So if you look at some of the knickknacks,
we should talk about the bowl game a few years ago.
Yeah, don't even get me started on that. Yeah, where we played the first half and
halftime lead. Yeah, that game. Yeah.
Yeah, where like the game, I mean, it was ours to lose and we lost it. Yeah.
That game.
Yeah, and then we don't have that coach anymore.
No. And we thought that coach for us was going to be great, and I wish we didn't have him anymore either.
Yeah. We got Steve giving you grief. But no, I mean, if you looking like that corner over there, I've got some Arkansas stuff, and I've got stuff all up in here.
I believe I've seen a T-shirt or two in some of your videos.
Oh yeah, we're huge Hog fans for sure. So, let's see here. That's a good question right there.
Why did you become friends with the Train Freak?
Heath, I think you need to ask yourself the same question.
Yeah, I think we all kind of ran into each other on YouTube, didn't we?
Yeah. So, speaking of, when did you start your channel? Like, you don't have to be exactly dated, but like,
it was just over a year ago. I actually do know the date because it was just a couple days. It was April 10th last year.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've hit 1 year, and you're at what, around 950 subs in a year? That's not bad.
Yeah, thank you.
Not bad at all.
Started with I think I had 5 subs when Uncle Wilmer found me.
Okay.
I think I was maybe in the 50s when I was on Who's Big Bill Talking To. And then I think when I was on Vinny's channel, I might have been in the 200 or 300 range. And it definitely, like, those guys helping you get out there was helpful.
Sparky, Michael McCarville, and Vinny helped me hit that 100 sub hump.
Yep.
And then it's grown from there. And then, of course, when you get shout outs from some of the really big channels like, Panama Roy, for example.
Yes, thank you. That's another one. I think I was in the 6s when he picked me up on a shout out. Yeah.
And then so I started a little later than you did, but our channels were kind of like similar,
Yeah.
and it's like you left me in the dust. So
that was after I think Roy Smith got a hold of it. I think
yeah.
kind of what. Yeah.
But I mean, you've also got like a layout that's actually up. It's functional. At the time, I think Roy gave me my shout out. I was still constructing. Like I didn't
Yeah.
really have anything functional. All I
Sure.
had was a yard,
Right.
and what are you going to do with that?
You can do a lot with a yard. If I had to
So,
do it again, I might just have a yard and staging, and that I would be happy with that.
yeah, that would be fun. But see, I didn't even have anywhere for the yard to get to staging.
Yeah.
So it was just a yard. So,
Yeah.
Let's see here. I'm trying to catch back up in chat. Like I'm like 10 minutes behind.
Well,
in chat.
I can try to help. I'm not as good of a MC.
So I'm in the area where they're talking about really small speakers, and Steve is right. They just released it. I have not got my hands on that one yet. And so I know, like, you're a TCS WoW guy. I'm a Soundtracks guy, and like, there's really, they all have their perks. When you come to it. But what got me in, Soundtracks is the hobby shop that I go to. He was a Soundtracks dealer, and he was wanting me to start doing decoder installs for him. And he was like, "Look, I'm gonna go and send you to Durango, and you can go get certified."
Oh wow, that's cool.
So back in 2017, I actually got to meet George and Nancy and everybody that's at Soundtracks' headquarters, and got to tour their facility. It was really cool. And
Nice.
so I've been with Soundtracks ever since. And I guess it's because I'm more keened on what they have to offer. So
yeah,
and that's kind of like you're with TCS,
Well, but so I don't have a local hobby as big of a city as Richmond is, and it's not like Los Angeles or something, but it's like a top 50 or 60 city in the country. We don't have a local hobby shop anymore.
That's crazy.
So I think the first time I heard, I kind of modeled back in the like 2005, 6, 7 era when they were first putting sound in HO. So my C&O Jeep 9 has the Tsunami, like the original, the first generation of that. I haven't changed it out yet. And then I was kind of getting back into model railroading again in the last 2 or 3 years. And I came across channel Chessie PA Division, PADIV, I believe it is. Scott, I think is his name. And he had some locomotives running with sound. And I heard the TCS, he happened to be a TCS guy. And I was blown away with what I heard. It's like, so I kept watching, trying to figure out what he was putting in it. Like, what's making that sound? That's amazing. And it was TCS. So as soon as I started doing sound installs, I went right to what I heard on Scott's channel.
Yeah. And that's typically how it starts.
Yeah.
For sure. All right. So I think we might have started something here.
What do we do?
How do the rest of us get in on this Cotton Belt boxcar interchange?
We could do a Seaboard one,
Yeah, I mean, I got the Seaboard one too. So
it was one of the guys on my there was I can't remember the subscriber's name, but there was a comment from the video I did talking about when I did the weathering and talking about our exchange.
Yes, I saw what you're talking about. He was wanting someone to create
somebody
this
who's good
database.
at IT, Jason. I don't know where we might find somebody like that, but right.
Where's the tree guy? Where's Rick Bailey when you need him?
So you'd set up a database, and we'd all list our industries on this database, and you could go there and use it for your car cards and waybills. Now that's a little bit less collaboration than what we're talking about, but you'd at least be able to interchange with each other.
Oh yeah, definitely. And in order to do the collab videos, you definitely got to have the exact same car.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the same manufacturer,
And you don't, like, I'm not going to mail you my car. It's just going to hit staging on yours, and I happen to have the same car and staging on mine and pick it up. So
right. So this one here, and I don't even know if this one's prototypical correct with the double door, because I could not find anything, any information on it.
On Railroad Picture Archives, it's all around that road number. They didn't have that one, but it's all single door around that road number.
They're like these.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like these.
Well,
and
whatever.
So the thing with Cotton Belt is originally this is the name that they put on all their cars.
Mm-hmm.
And even their locomotives, like their F units, they would say St. Louis Southwestern on the side because that's the actual railroad name. And then they went and changed them to Cotton Belt because that was their trade.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So we got some more. Steve wanted to let you know that his wife is a Hokie.
You have
And he
good
wants
taste,
to know if
Steve.
you've ever
Mine is
been
too.
to. Wants to know
I
if
have
you've ever
not.
been to the.
No.
Okay. So that's
Interesting.
something you might need to check out.
Yeah, next time I'm up there. The problem is for the last 20 years, if I'm up in Blacksburg, I'm like in a parking lot drinking beer at 9 in the morning before kickoff or something. Like I haven't been in the library since I was a student.
Yeah. I work in one, but it's a public library, so it's a different
Yeah.
animal.
Oh, I'll have to look
So,
into that. I know they have a lot of stuff online now too. Oh, that's interesting. Thank you for that. I'll have to have a sober sojourn to campus someday.
there you go. So I'm like I said, I'm still working on catching up with chat. So I see we got Big Bill with South Brooklyn Railroad
Hey,
in.
Bill.
So Bill's here. And let's see here. Yep, and he was actually asking how you were doing.
Very
All
well.
right, I'm gonna skim through. Let's see here. I'm trying
Pete's
to catch
asking
up.
about modeling inspirations. You want to take that one first, and then I can answer as well.
So my modeling inspiration is actually not on YouTube, and that's the guy who owns and runs the hobby shop. He is what I call a genius at scenery, but his techniques are old school, and that's because he's been doing it for a very long time. And so, like, if you see how I've, did some of my how-to scenery videos, that's actually what I learned from him, and
Yep.
it works.
It looks great. Nothing wrong with
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
So,
And I think the more variety you mix in, like those techniques plus the new stuff, maybe you kind of have them work together a little bit. Like if you look around in nature, there's tons of variety. It's not, if you look close enough, it's you might see 50 different species in one little area on a ditch line or something. So I think you should mix it all together.
yeah.
How far along are you in the layout? Yeah. I had scenery about halfway around, and I was starting to do ballast in the sort of other long wall. And I'm going to be moving the layout to my garage. So doing that, it's going to get a lot bigger. I'm going to use everything I have and just increase the space between it. And so I don't know. I guess it's hard to put a percent on that. It's probably close to 40% now, but in the new footprint, maybe 20. Plus, I got to build it, and you can't find track right now. Nobody's got track.
It's hard. I will tell you, train shows.
Okay.
Well,
whenever they start.
Yeah, Container Man. He was at a train show over the weekend, snapping me pictures right and left, just increasing my wish list. And he sent me a picture of all this track, and I mean, like the prices there were like dirt cheap.
Oh wow!
And I think Michael McCarville was there too. So
it was nickel silver track, like not old brass stuff that
I don't know. It was flexed. It was flex track. So I would assume nickel silver.
They had. I remember my grandfather. So one of my inspirations was my grandfather, and he had some HO, and his HO was all brass, and it was flex track. Yeah. So they had it.
So yeah. So Flying Crow mentioned about the hobby shop in Ashland.
There is one, and I've been in there a couple of times. Maybe it just doesn't have exactly the selection I'm looking for. And Ashland is a little bit of a hike. It's a bit north of the city, so there's nothing in Richmond proper. And I live south of the city, so for me to get up to Ashland, it's a little bit of a hike. There's also Charlottesville, which is about it's where UVA is, which we don't really talk about, but it's a nice little town other than the college that's there. And they've got a hobby shop up there, at least they used to, that I've been in a couple of times. And that's about an hour run. It's beautiful up there. You're getting up into the mountains there.
Oh, yeah. I've only know of 3 hobby shops in our state. And one of them's up northwest, north of Fayetteville, up in that area, which is nowhere near me. That's when I went to the Northwest Arkansas Train Show, it's in that town, and that was like a 3-4 hour drive. So, there is one like within, a 30 minutes drive, but he's not really he's retired military, which there's nothing wrong with that, but he's not
No.
doing it for the hobby. He's
Okay.
doing it for a living. So
Yeah, well, I mean,
and
it's a
I
business. It should,
yeah,
I get that.
and then the other guy, the one that I typically go to, he's like a 45 minutes to an hour drive away, so it's a little farther.
Yeah,
But his hobby shop is he actually bought a depot
that's
that's
cool.
over 100 years old. And so he's got the hobby shop, he's got it as a museum in there as well.
Hmm.
So you could go in one of the rooms in the depot and actually look at nothing but, actual railroad memorabilia.
Yeah, yeah.
And then he's also working with Amtrak to make it a stop
Oh,
because
nice.
Amtrak does service the tracks there. And that would be really cool if they
That would be
did.
cool. Yeah.
But Amtrak runs through the state in the midnight hours. So
Ah,
he would have to have someone there overnight. So I don't know how that would work.
yep.
But he used to be a federal Department of Transportation inspector. And so he mostly inspected railroads all over the U.S. So like his knowledge is insane. So he's actually running this hobby shop, and it's because it's what he loves to do.
Yeah.
So I mean, great guy. I'm hoping, he's also a state legislator. So I'm hoping that once,
Oh, wow.
the General Assembly and stuff is over with, I can actually get
Yeah.
him.
He's the right guy to talk to Amtrak for sure.
Anything. He
Yeah.
was the one who wrote up the bill for the Arkansas making the Cotton Belt 819, which is the last steam locomotive that was built in the state, making it the state locomotive,
Oh, cool.
which sits at the Arkansas Railroad Museum.
I was going to ask,
So,
is it parked somewhere? Yeah.
yeah,
Cool.
the city of Pine Bluff, which is where I grew up, and they own that locomotive. So it's not in any running shape, but
Yeah.
it's in the middle of restoration.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gus Hadley, the lunatic from Arno, is here, and I saw where Vinny stepped out, so I wanted to tell him bye. And I know we got deep in conversation, so sometimes it's
Yeah.
hard to do. Let's see here. That's a good question.
So where I am now, I have knee walls. I don't know if you can see the angle behind me. That comes down basically to the top of the backdrop. And I wanted to have at least, my backdrop is 18 inches high. And that's set like the table itself is at the same height as like a desk. It's like 30 inches off the floor. So sitting in a chair as I am now, it's perfect. It's chest high. When I move to the garage, I'm going to put it up higher. And for these areas that are already done, I'm not going to redo the photo backdrop, but I'm going to have, the garage is, 9 foot high. I could have higher backdrops to get more of the sky. So maybe some of the new areas, I'll actually use a little bit of a taller backdrop. So that would be a change I would make, but I was limited by where I am, and I didn't want it any lower than it already is.
That looks perfect.
So,
I mean,
so,
you
yeah,
got
it works.
Yeah.
It works. Everything in this hobby is a compromise, and that was a compromise.
Right. I think like with mine, it's 12 and a half inches where I'm at. And then
Okay.
the section above it's going to be probably 14 and a half.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to have a higher gap between levels 2 and 3.
Yep.
So now,
the second deck is definitely tricky for you.
Yeah.
Well, 3. You're going to have 3. Yeah.
So, and I'll probably go with whatever the standard height is on the top one.
Yeah.
And then getting them, when you go from scene to scene, just getting it to where the backdrop fades into it,
The one
that's the trick.
The manufacturer I'm buying from has they're all designed as sort of dominoes, like repeaters. Any of them butt up perfectly with the next one. So you can buy his different variety ones and sync them up in whatever order you want. And he's really good to work with too if you want to do something custom. Like as it comes around here, I've got this little short 90-degree thing coming out, and the side of it that joins with the corner and he just cut it off for me. Like I didn't have to cut that; he did it for me. And I guess because I was ordering I was ordering a couple of pieces, he just threw it in. So I thought, he's just really good to work with. I would highly recommend his trackside scenery.
Okay.
Really
So now, does yours come in on a roll, or does it come in like just flat sheets?
Comes on it's a roll. He does them. These ones with city buildings and stuff in them are 60 inches wide. Otherwise, like the ones that are just trees, you can do 48, 60, or 96, I want to say. And
Okay.
I've used all of the above on to make it fit and how I wanted it and stuff. I've used all of the above lengths. And they
Gotcha.
all, whatever, if it's a 48 or a 60, the sides still, he's photoshopped it to where it fits together.
So, I go through a different company, which is
Yep.
Train Junkies.
Yep.
And one of the things that he mentioned to me, is he said if you put in like a small little 45-degree thing in your corner,
Mhm.
and he said your backdrop will look like it's not,
Yep.
90'd like that.
Yep.
And he said it actually flows a lot better. So, and I'm sure you could do the same thing with yours.
Yeah. Or
You
even
know.
just round it, like a rounded corner. So there is no corner.
Right. So, and that's one of the things he mentioned to me. He said you could just, just trim like a small little 45 to fit.
Yeah, I cheated. If I pivot this way, I in that corner, it's actually
Yeah.
I just, because it's paper, but it's really thick. So I actually just rounded. I did not press it into the corner. I
Oh, yeah.
intentionally
See,
left
there
it
you
an inch
go.
or two off, so you can't. There's no shadow in there.
Yeah, that's perfect, man.
Yeah.
All right, let's see here. Yep, and even Big Bill is saying Trackside Scenery is a great place to shop. So,
It is. Yeah, Joey's great. He's got a really good YouTube channel too. Tons of I used some of his techniques when I was weathering the track in my yard. He's got he's a very talented modeler in his own right.
Yeah. So, let's see here. Well, it is right at 8:30, so I'm gonna give the audience one last call for questions. And Heath, that does not mean 10 questions.
What is Heath talking about? He's tired of programming. Is he building that database for us already?
No, I don't think. No, I know what he's working on.
Oh, okay.
I think he's trying to get something ready for Modeling Monday. So, all right, here we go.
Yeah. So
Yep.
This is where I have to make a decision about my minimum radius. I used 22-inch radius, and I've kind of played around with 26. 36 isn't going to work. I don't have enough room for a turn back the way I want to. So I messed with 26. I've messed with 30. I've got plans in any rail both ways. But moving that 22 to either 26 or 30 will be something I correct. And then also the area over here that you guys can't see, that's going to be a harbor scene. I literally have 9 square feet, 3x3 to do that. In the garage, I'm going to have an entire peninsula that's like 14 feet long and 6 feet wide. It's going to wrap around one side onto the other. So I'm really going to be able to blow out that operation and that. So not really a mistake,
cool.
something I'm definitely going to improve.
Well, with me, mine's a 28 minimum, and that's because I've got, passenger cars.
Yep.
Yep.
And that's something I have to decide. Like, do I?
Yeah.
Because passenger trains ran on that main line. Like,
and it's one of those things. Are you running the heavyweights, which are 6 axles, or if you're running the, the streamliners, which they went down to 4 axles.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you, like, even with the 28-inch radius, those heavyweights have issues.
Really?
The streamliners are fine,
Yeah.
but it's something with that middle axle. It just causes.
And I've got number 5 turnouts too, and I've got 6s and 5s. So I designed it to be a moving 40-foot cars around with first generation diesels. So that's kind of how I built it. But yeah, and I think the 22
with what
looks
you're doing
fine for those cars. Yeah, but now I have the opportunity to change that if I want to.
And then of course you could always go to 50 footers.
Yeah.
And
yep.
And do it that way. I mean, I think you go 26-inch. I think you're good either way it goes.
Yeah.
I think for what you're doing, if you was to go 28, 30, that's kind of overkill.
Yeah.
And I think you would utilize more space if you went 26. You might be able to go 24. So.
Sure. Or if I stay 22, I don't have to tear anything up, and I just move what I have. Because as it is, I'm going to have to remove track from the end of the modules where there's a turn, right?
Right. So
Nissy's
asking where I got my cotton belt from. I got it from eBay, accidentally, And then me and John found out that we actually had the same car.
Well, I sought mine out. I saw it on eBay. I remember I texted you. I said, I got to have this. I'm getting it because it's going to be for you. And then
Yeah.
it kind of morphed into this whole like, let's weather them. Let's collab.
Well,
let's do all this stuff.
And
You're like,
that's
I have
because
that
I've got
same car.
several.
Yeah.
You know, I've got several. I mean, look, I got 2 right here. You know,
Yeah.
and it's just ironic that we had the exact same car with the same road number. But Nissy, this is an AccuRail, and the car number is 35644. Oh, and one thing I did not show everybody, and I did show John before we started the stream. So for those who got to watch, I actually did one extra step on the weathering car, and I tagged it. So I put my initials on it.
Tell
and
me
that's because
what'd you do that
what?
with again? How did you do that? What did you use to do that? A pencil?
a white Crayola pencil.
Yeah.
So, and if you go and watch JC's Rip Track, I can't remember the guy's name.
John Kravis.
Yes, when he was talking about he did a video series on like weathering. He said it was like from 2.5 years ago. Which I did. He did comment or reply to my comment on his video when I subbed to him, and I told him about our gauntlet thing. So I'm hoping he checks us out.
I hope he does because I used his techniques to do mine.
Yeah, and so he mentioned about graffiti back in the 70s is when it really changed, and that's the evolution of spray paint. They did have graffiti back in the 50s and the 60s, and it was all chalk. So there you have it. And
maybe we'll have to put your initials on one side of the car and mine on the other.
There you go. There you
do
go.
it on mine too.
Yeah, I could still do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm sure my kids have one of those pencils.
So the Cotton Belt Railroad Police want to have a word with me.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm the owner, so
That's right.
police works for me. So there you have it. All right. So, but yeah, Nissy, that's the answer to the question. You could check eBay. Just look for the AccuRail because a lot of the manufacturers do not use the same road numbers. But to help your search out, it's a 40-foot double door box car.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and Nissy, if I think she's saying she feels the need to try weathering, I would recommend JC's Rip Track. There's a series of 8 videos that's just weathering basics. Here's your 8 tools to put in your tool belt that you mix and match to do whatever you want to do. Each one's no more than 10 minutes long. I follow them. I've learned a ton from that channel. So he's got the 8 example videos, and then he'll do commissions for other people or do his own, and he'll show, hey, here's a picture. Here's exactly what I'm trying to replicate. Now let me grab these tools that I've already showed you and show you how I actually do it. It's really cool. You learn a ton, and go try it. Nissy, I'm sorry. Go get a cheap car. Everything we're doing is AccuRail. These are not expensive cars. They look good, and once you weather it, it's like one of your favorite cars on the layout.
Yeah. And I mean that's what got me in. And I did watch JC's Rip Track. Now the only thing that I did different was John, you used oil paints, right?
I did. Yeah.
See, I went acrylics. So sometimes with acrylics, you can't always do the exact same steps.
No.
You have to have to find what works.
He breaks that down in his videos. Like, why do you use oil for this technique versus acrylic for that? And it depends on what you're trying to do. And it's when do you use oil? When do you use acrylic? What's the base coat that you put down underneath it to make the paint behave the way that you want it to? Like, he gets into all that. It's really, really good.
Yeah. This is a real good question.
Go ahead. I'll chew on.
I don't even know where to begin. I would probably do something like what Arthur Houston 3 did, where he took the Rio Grande and Southern Pacific and made it the Grande Pacific. I would probably do the same thing between the Cotton Belt and the SP and probably call it the Southern Belt.
I think it'd be cool to have, like, you could see it I've seen them on eBay, like a Gorian defeated boxcar. Or if I could get a hold of like a Virginian and Ohio or something. Those were famous model railroads, not real railroads. I think that would be kind of cool. Pay homage to the guys that really taught us all how to operate.
So, and that's like Arthur Houston 3 did the same thing. You know, he custom decaled all of his a lot of his rolling stock is Grande Pacific.
Yeah,
It's
that's
got
cool.
the speed lettering on it, but he has no locomotives that are Grande Pacific. It's all either Rio Grande or SP, mostly SP. So
If I had to grab an existing railroad that I just don't have, maybe that I'm not sure if that's what the question was, but I don't have any like anything from the west really. Like it's all north south for me. So some maybe a western railroad. Like I should have.
yeah, yeah,
You don't see a lot of it around here, but they all go all over the place. It's nationwide rail network. So maybe like a
right.
Rio Grande or something. Like I don't have any of that.
So, and I don't know, like, I don't run anything Eastern. The only thing I run is Cotton Belt and SP, and that's because Cotton Belt was a subsidiary of the SP for 60 years. They were originally their own railroad until 1932. So that's the history I do know.
Yeah.
And then the other one I run is the Ashley Drew Northern, and that's because that was a short line in the area that I went, you know, where I went to college. Which it was a short line, and I was surprised Athearn and Walters made and AccuRail made a lot of their stuff, and they still make it.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
Yeah.
So
those make for interesting cars.
yeah. So Tim, I think well, let me scroll back up to the original question. I think what he was talking about is like power, because
Okay.
When you're talking about like operating a railroad, you're talking about the power and stuff.
Yeah. In that case, I actually do, and this is where I took modeler's license, but I do run trains from the CNO onto my layout to interchange with my yard. I do the same with the Southern. So Jason, you and I were actually talking about this a while back. As I expand and move to the garage, I should probably be interchanging with the Atlantic Coastline as well. And that would give me a chance to run some really cool, like those purple and silver locomotives. That's just a really unique look.
Yeah, it's a neat paint scheme for sure. So let's see here.
But the Seaboard and the Atlantic Coastline in 1959 hated each other. Like there was no trackage rights.
Well, okay, and that was the same with like a lot of people don't know this, but the same with the MOP, which before it was the MOP, it was Iron Mountain and Southern Railway, and then the St. Louis Southwestern, which was the Cotton Belt. They both ran out of St. Louis, all through Arkansas, all the way down into Texas.
Yep.
And
it's like the ACL and Seaboard from Richmond to Florida, side by side, the whole way, crossing each other even. Yeah,
they crossed in Texarkana. So if you get on Virtual Railfan and look it up, you're actually looking at the tracks closest to you is the St. Louis, Iron Mountain, and Southern, and then the tracks farthest away is the old Cotton Belt tracks. So for those who have access to Virtual Railfan for the Texarkana webcam, but now UP owns both of those tracks. Because they bought out the MOP bought out St. Louis, Iron Mountain, and Southern. Now it also interchanged and branched off and crossed in Pine Bluff, but that was a different route.
Mm-hmm.
But their main route, they were parallel to each other. Now UP uses the old MOP line for northbound and the Cotton Belt line for all southbound. And it's because they're mostly single main tracks, and now they don't have to worry about using passing sidings.
That's smart. Yeah.
So, and I mean, you can, I would say an hour's drive distance. That's how far, wide they are. It's just an hour's drive distance. So, let's see here. How many locos you have? I think he's asking Brian. Yeah, there's never enough.
No,
I don't have enough.
Now that you can't buy track, it's all on back order, and the dang decoders are all on back order too. So I've got all these. I'm like kind of paused on layout construction. Like, let me weather cars, let me do installations, all this stuff because I know I'm going to be moving stuff, and I can't.
See, Split Rock knew exactly.
I need to weather cars.
Yeah. See, Split Rock knew exactly what I was talking about.
Yeah. That's really cool.
So, well, let's see here. I think that's all the questions. I wasn't going to ask the one Heath mentioned earlier because that's just not train related. So, sorry, Heath. You're just going to have to deal with that one. But I think that's it. I know it's getting pretty late there. It's starting to get late here, and we both got to work in the morning.
Yes, sir.
And you're an hour ahead of me, so
Yeah, it's
Um,
9:40. Yeah.
all right. So any last words or anything like that? What you got coming up?
Well, first, just thanks for having me on as a guest. It was those nearly 2 hours went by like that. I just enjoyed chatting and talking trains with you, and thanks for having me on and reaching out, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming on because you're really my only SAL person, and every time I see that logo, I think of the Orange Blossom Special from Johnny Cash. So.
Yes. I need to get rights to that. That should be somehow in my intro video or something.
Yeah. There you go.
Fat chance.
I know, right? Well, I don't. It might happen. And hey, Johnny Cash is from Arkansas. How about that?
Okay.
And he grew up on the Cotton Belt.
There you go. But he
even wrote a song about it
because he just knew.
Yeah. I think he did a lot of songs with railroads. So,
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
If you watch a lot of his live stuff, like live recordings and stuff, he talks about a lot of the railroads where he grew up. Cotton Belt, Rock Island were two big ones. Mopac.
Yeah.
But yeah, he did a lot. I think that's because he mostly traveled by rail. Merle Haggard, same way. So
yeah, it was a lot bigger part of life back then too.
Yeah. And Tim, you know this is Sidetrack Sunday for a reason. Come on now.
We kind of got back to it a couple times.
Yeah, a couple of times. So, all right, y'all. Well, I'm going to go ahead and sign us off. John, I appreciate you being on here and talking, dude. I'm really looking forward to this collab video that we're going to do.
Yeah, that's going to be fun.
I'm hoping that now, since I've got all these couplers swapped out, I can go ahead and start my recording portions and then get those with you, and then, vice versa. Yeah. And I think we're both going to release a video simultaneously,
Yeah, we can do it that way. Yeah.
Your version and my version, but it's got the same clips in it, which I think is going to be really cool. So
yeah.
So everyone, y'all have a great night. I will see y'all next time. Next week, Sidetrack Sunday, we've got Ray Bobel, which I don't know if he's still here or not, but he's going. I have no clue what he's got planned. So it's good old Ray. So who knows? So other than that, y'all take care, be safe out there, and happy railroading.
Night, everybody.